the story of a Nigerian American woman navigating through this thing called life. All right, we are here. Welcome to episode 6 of the Expectation.
I cannot believe this.
6 whole episodes.
6. Look at you.
One hand and one more, one finger. We made it.
We did.
Episode 6 of the Expectation. I'm your host, Yasunde. To the left of me, I have a published poet. A published one. Not just she's published in a book. A published poet. She can paint. I can't wait to get my painting.
I'm so excited to show it to you.
I'm going to hang it on that wall.
I've been sitting on it for a year.
It's been a while. But I'm coming for it.
I'm so excited.
I'm coming for it. I can't wait to hang it up. All-around artist. She's an all-around artist. And just all-around sweet soul.
Aww.
To the left of me, I have a young East African girl in the
Period.
building. Edel, big up Somalia in the building.
I actually wore my necklace.
Hey, come on, Somalia. How are we doing today, Edel?
Good.
Thank you
so excited.
Much for coming on.
I am so excited to be here. We talked about this a year ago.
Yes.
And I am just in awe, so proud of you.
Thanks, Edel.
So proud of you.
Aww.
You spoke this into existence. You did it. I've been watching and listening.
Yeah.
I'm trying to listen on every platform.
Oh, thanks, Edel.
But just so happy for you. So happy.
Thank you so much to me, because it's been a long time coming.
It has.
It's been a long time coming. 6 episodes in, we're here with you today. Thank you again for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I really, really appreciate it. Let's talk about what space we're in. What's the mood? Let's do a mood check. How are we feeling today?
Today, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of nervous.
Ooh.
Nervous, excited to be here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nervous, excited.
Don't be nervous. We're
we're
chilling.
Here. I think as I keep going, it will get better. I always get nervous. It's so weird because, like you said, I do poetry and stuff, and when I perform, no matter how many times I do it, when I get up there, there's so much adrenaline and just nerves, and then after I start speaking, it kind of goes away. And even when we were in grad school, every time we would have a presentation, you're whatever, we're just gonna wing it, and I'm girl, what are we saying?
Let's
do that real quick.
I don't preparing. I just free flow. I love authenticity. I love just rawness.
I love that about you though, because I feel I always feel I have to be prepared, I need to make sure that I know what to expect, and I can plan for things to go wrong in that way. It's a control thing.
Yeah, it sounds a control thing. It sounds like
for
a control
sure
thing. So you're in a nervous setting, but that's gonna
it's going away. It's going
away.
away.
5-10 minutes, you'll be fine. Trust me.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So nervous feelings, but it's going to get better. We are on the Unmet Expectation podcast. So let's kind of dive into what have been some of your unmet expectations over the course of your journey, navigating life. They can be anything unmet expectation wise, cultural, societal, anything that kind of fits in that. Let me know. Talk to me.
So I guess for me, I feel my career kind of started really late, as you know, when we graduated, I wasn't really where I wanted to be. And so I think it was what year? 2019. So it was 5 years.
We graduated in
14. Yeah. It was 5 years almost of me trying to get my footing and figure out what I wanted to do. And I kept on going back and forth between okay, maybe God wants me to do art instead of doing business. And so I didn't know, I was should I just give up on that completely? Should I keep going? And it's I got bills to pay.
Yeah, life is life.
It's a lot of there was a lot of patience. So I guess that was something that I wasn't expecting. The amount of time that it took me to get into my career and figure out what I was gonna do. And now I genuinely love my job. I'm it also made me so grateful for it, not having it for so long. And just I work with great people too, and my family always makes fun of me because they're you always talk about your work. You need to not make that your personality.
Wow. I think that's a passion thing
It is.
Because you waited for it for so long, it meant so much more to you when
exactly.
it was able to obtain, when it was in the
yes. And then I'm just like that much more grateful for it.
Yes.
Like, yes, of course, you know, it's nothing is ever perfect. We're humans. Like, we're never going to be 100% satisfied. But like, I do wake up every day genuinely like just like happy that I am not in the same space that I was a few years ago. And it's crazy how quickly your life can change. And yeah, I'm just very, very grateful.
Yeah. Progress is everything.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy for you because I remember you work for an amazing company too.
Yeah, I do.
Not just anything mediocre. So you're doing a big girl status. And I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
I hope that you pray that you elevate if that's what you desire in that company, because that's an awesome company. Any other expectations you kind of want to hit on?
Not being married.
That's a big one.
Huge.
I'm right with ya.
I think now, like, that I'm done with school, it was like the first thing everyone was asking me. Okay, so like, when are you gonna get married? You know, like, when is that gonna happen? We want to see like our grandchildren and like our, you know, my uncles and aunts are always asking. And I think because it's something that like I also do want, like, it's just very difficult. Like, it's hard to find, I think, because I like finished school and I like did all of these things that I like checked off and I worked hard to get to where I am. Like, finding someone that I know also did that and like has the same type of like, or at least like some kind of ambition. I love how I said the same type and then I dropped it to some kind, but I feel like as the years go on, there's certain things that I am not willing to like let go of, you know?
Settle.
Yeah, I'm not going to settle on. I didn't wait this long to like be with someone who's mediocre. And I didn't wait this long to, you know, and I also did a lot of work on myself. So I feel like I am elevating and obviously like going to change and continue to grow. And I'm more self-aware now, I feel like, than I was, you know, when we were in like grad school even. But I don't want to settle for something that I know that I don't deserve just so that I can check a box, you know?
Because you're more than just checking a box.
Exactly.
There's so much depth. Like you said, you've put in the work, you put in the time. So for you to just settle for anything, you'd be doing yourself a huge disservice.
Absolutely.
And I don't even think that you'd be happy with yourself. I think that eventually might turn into resentment.
Exactly.
So you're definitely taking all the necessary precautionary steps to ensure that when Mr. Right comes along, you're ready. And you talked about like not being married. Is your preference a Somali man?
Yes. Like I feel like it will just, there's so many things culturally that we do, right? And like, you know, this as like, like it's something that I just knew that I was going to be with someone who is Somali. But I think now it's just hard for me because also here in this area, I feel like I'm not really part of the community that much, right? And like it's not that I'm not really part of it. I do know people, like my family does know people, but there isn't like a place for us to like all go and meet, you know? Whereas like I used to live in Ohio and I feel like there people were more connected to each other. But also, again, like this is post-pandemic, right? And so our lives are different than it was before. But I don't know what it's like in Ohio anymore. But I do know that people there are more connected. And it is much easier to like meet other people in person and all of that. So, I think for me, that's something that, you know, I want to be with someone who is Somali. I want us to like have similar upbringings and like, you know, family is like very important to me, as you know. And so I want someone who like just values like their family and wants the same things that I do.
What if you can find all of the attributes you're looking in a perfect husband, but he's not Somali? What do you do from there?
I don't know.
What does that look like?
That is a great question. I really don't know. I know that like my parents were very much like Somali or like nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Somali or nothing.
Somali or nothing. I don't know. Yes. I don't know if it's like something that in my mind before, like I was like, oh, you know, like I could probably bring someone home who checks off every other box and is also just like kind-hearted, whatever. And then it doesn't matter. Like as long as he's like a practicing Muslim, for me, that is what is most important. But I shouldn't say. well, I don't know if it's like only my mom and my dad, but I think it was mostly my dad, to be honest. Like he was just like, I want you to bring home a Somali priest. Like don't even bring anyone else.
And that's kind of so hard because you talked about not being really a part of any type of connection or group that's going to allow you to meet Somali men. I know Minnesota has a huge population of Somali people, but you're not in Minnesota.
I'm not in Minnesota.
Yeah. So that's kind of tough. That's like pressure.
Very tough. Very tough.
Do they want to import someone from Somalia? No. Or like...
I want to be with someone, like I said, who has a similar upbringing as me. So like grew up here, you know, like knows what the culture here, like knows what we kind of like do and what our expectations are as American Somalis. Even Canadian, like, you know, like I'm open to that. But like, I just think that this is something that I also want. And it's not something that, like I said, like I'm willing to like budge on at this time, because it's like I waited this long. I'm not going to just like give up on it. And I think something that I have learned in my life, there's a saying in Arabic, "Kul shay ta'akhir fiha khair." Like everything that is delayed, there is goodness in it. And so like even me with like getting my job and you know all of these things that I have gotten in life have been things that I have waited for a long time, but they were so worth it when I got it. Exactly. That like it was like, okay, I understand why God made me wait this long. Because I also got to a place where I was ready to receive like what I was getting, right? And so when it comes to like that, I'm just like, if it's gonna happen for me, it's gonna happen for me. I do believe that like things are written and that if it's, you know, supposed to happen, it will, and it will flow very easily. And it won't be difficult for me. I won't be chasing after it. So I think like everything, kul shay ta'akhir fiha khair, everything that is delayed, there's goodness in it. And then it's just like it means more when you get it. And that's something that, so I think like I've learned a lot of patience. And I think in life, like that's just a skill that you need to have. And going through that experience of like getting a job has taught me that I can be very patient. And so that's something that I'm very proud of, and something that I want to like continue to like spill into other aspects of my life.
Patience is truly a virtue. I've always heard that growing up, but I didn't really know what that meant until like now as an adult. But it really is, because it's not easy. It's not easy. It requires a lot of faith, I would say too.
100%.
Because even, you know, not knowing what's going to happen next, being patient enough to know that it's going to be worth it.
And then believing that it is going to happen for you, like
that's faith. That's faith, and that's everything you need.
Exactly.
Who are we to dictate or say we can't control the future? Cannot control it.
And we like to think that we can, like making all of these plans for ourselves and saying like, oh yeah, like we can do this next year. Like next summer, like let's do XYZ. Next fall, like let's do this. And we think that that's like how our life is going to go, and then you get reminded like you have exactly
keep on trying to plan and do
and I think that's what it is. That's something that I'm still learning. Like it's very difficult for me to like give up that control, and it's a false sense of control, right? Like we think that we know what we're going to do. Like yesterday, I mean, thank God I'm here, but like I was like, oh yes, I'm going to be on Yestende's podcast tomorrow. Like I need to plan out like what time I need to leave my house, like, but you know, and thank God I'm here, but like who knows, right? Like what could have happened. So
exactly. Wow. So we talked about delayed gratification. Let's talk about a little bit about the Somali dynamic, the family dynamic. You and I have a very, very similar dynamic. You're the middle child. I'm the middle child. So we've gone through very, very, I think, relatable experiences, to be honest with you. That middle child syndrome, whatever that looked like. What did that look like for you?
So for me, I felt like I was the troublemaker growing up. And now when you ask my mom and my dad, they like forgot. It's like they're just like, no, you guys were all perfect children. And I'm like, no, Mom, I do remember like what I did, you know? And I'm not saying like I was like, I don't think I was terrible, because there's levels, but I do think that like just now looking back and the relationship that I had with my parents, I'm like, I really should not have like put them through that. You know, like I should not have made them worry that much about me. And that's something that like as an adult, I try not to do. But And also just like my relationship with like my mom and my dad, like I grew up as a daddy's girl, and I was just always naturally, drawn towards him. And like he was just, like I said, like my hero, and like still is. And so for me, like I was always closer to him, I felt like. And there was a couple of years where he wasn't in the country and my mom was. And so me and my mom had to learn each other, and I was also a teenager at that point, and like I was not nice. I will say that. And that's something that I do regret. Like I wish that I was kinder. Yes. Ooh, could you imagine me like that though? Attitude? Like I'm not like that anymore. Oh my goodness. But like my mom, now if you ask her, she like doesn't remember because she's a mom. She's like, no, oh my God, that was you didn't do anything. And I'm like, no, I actually was horrible. But I think that like self-awareness, like, and so I did make an effort. I do remember, like, I was like, okay, I need to stop being like this. And I try to like actively be just like more patient. And I think that's something that I try to teach myself when I was younger. So I was still in like high school, like trying to like change, and like was starting to be like self-aware. Wow. It was like my junior year, I think. Yeah. So that year I tried to like do, just be better. Like, and life is already difficult as it is. Yep. Like I was like, why am I adding more stress to, especially my parents? Like what? They don't deserve that.
Right. And that's just me being so kind, because a lot of kids do not care.
They don't.
They don't care how it makes their parents
feel.
They don't care about anything but themselves.
That's true.
And they're sometimes on a mission to make their parents' lives
a living hell. Yeah. But I think because my parents like have faith and pray, like they pray so much for us, and like for us to be just like good people, like good Muslims. And in Islam, like your parents, they say heaven is underneath the feet of your mother. And so like they're on such a high pedestal, both of them, that like you need to be respectful to them. That's you being a practicing Muslim. Yeah. And so I think for me also growing up, and also just like learning Islam and the religion, I had to try to like embody it. I can't just say that I'm a Muslim but not actually practice. And so and then just like being with my parents, they're actually genuinely just like good people. Like not me about to cry on your podcast.
I have tissue right here to the right.
But yeah, they just like I've seen them do so much for other people growing up that now I'm just like, I want to repay them even for stuff that they did for other people that like wasn't even for me. Just like seeing how generous that they were. At some point in my life, I remember we used to live in Kenya, and my dad was like working out there, and this was like early 90s. So like there was a war in Somalia, and people were like fleeing from there, and they were going to Kenya. We had so many people staying in our house. Wow. Family, non-family, like it was a lot. And I just remember that time, like I felt like my family was so much more than just like me, my brother, my sister, and my parents. Wow. And when we left Kenya and we moved to Kuwait, it was just us. And I remember I walked around the apartment that we were in, and I was like, there's not enough room here for everyone else. Like, where everybody gonna sleep? And my parents reminded me of that. They're like, you said that, and we had to explain to you that like this is like we're your family. Like they were our family too, but like this is the immediate family. Like this is like who your nuclear family. And so it was like a shock to me. Like I was just like, this is weird that But then I also learned that like looking back, like the reason why I felt that way is because of my parents. Like they were helping all of these people, like giving them a place to stay and come and go whenever they please, right? Wow. And like I still exactly, and I still see them like doing that for people, and they taught us to be that way as well. So just like a sense of like community, right? Yes. And I think that like Africans, like that's what we do, right? Yeah. Like sometimes I'll go. I remember I was studying abroad in Rome, and my aunt came to visit me, and she introduced me to this other lady who is also Somali. And because my aunt knew her, like I don't even know how close she was to her, but like because my aunt knew her, she would always like check in on me like the whole time I was there. Like we saw each other multiple times. So like there's always that sense of like community and like family. And like if you see another Somali person, you're just like, oh, like that's my aunt, or that's my uncle, or like that's my cousin, right?
We're like that in Nigeria too. Everyone's your aunt, everyone's your cousin.
Exactly.
Not, but I get it.
Yeah.
It's a community belonging.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And you mentioned something earlier, something in the Quran that's very, very similar to something in the Bible. I think it goes, honor thy mother and the father all days of the days of your life, so that your days can be long. I don't, that was a misquote, but basically the premise is honoring your mother and father, respecting them, so that you can live longer. Because what we know is also a mother's prayer is so powerful.
Yes.
The power of a praying mother.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unmatched.
Yeah.
So you definitely, when you were like, yeah, just like, why am I treating my parents like this?
Right.
That was a good call.
Right. Yeah.
You need their prayers.
Exactly. I realized quickly.
Definitely need their prayers to succeed.
Yeah.
Wow. So we know you're Muslim. You wear your hijab proudly, a proud Muslim.
Yes,
ma'am. For you. Can we talk about some of your experiences you've had wearing your hijab, and
so
with your travel? Because you travel quite a bit.
Yeah.
And can we talk about some of those things?
Yeah.
That, we've talked about before in the past.
So I actually started wearing my hijab in 2001. So it was right before September 11th.
Wow.
Right before September 11th. I was in school, and I went to an Islamic school. At this point, we were in Florida, and we had started the school, and it was part of the uniform. And I didn't really know this at the time, but a lot of people didn't choose to like wear it outside of the school. Like they were just doing it for the uniform. But me and my sister started the school, and we were like, we're gonna wear it permanently. There's no point of us just putting it on for school and like taking it off.
Wow.
And so we went to our parents and told them that, and they were like, it's your decision, but like we're proud of you for making that decision. And so we wore it, and then September 11th happened, and I can't really remember honestly what it was like before being just like hyper aware that I'm visibly Muslim. That really changed my life, and I think like a lot of Muslim people's lives. Like I remember we had to stop going to school because our school was an Islamic school, and they were getting threats. Wow. They had to cover up Islamic on the buses, like the word. So it was just like School of Florida. You didn't know like what it was. People were taking off their like bumper stickers from their cars, like anything that would like draw attention to you was gone. A lot of women also took off their hijabs, which I think like it's okay like for you to, if you're like fearful for your life, then I agree with that. I don't know what the Islamic ruling is on it. I can't like speak on it, but there are, And I think like something that I learned as an adult is that there is something in the religion for any question that you have in life, which I think that is why I have such strong faith.
Okay.
Is because I know that I can like do some research, and then somewhere someone spoke about something, right? There's like a hadith, or scholars discuss something, and they came to like a ruling on like best practices. Wow. So like growing up, that's what I've learned. And
I have a quick question: is the Quran updated like regularly?
No.
Okay, because
it's the same.
Someone came to a ruling.
No, so we have hadiths. So it's like sayings of the Prophet. Like things that the Prophet taught people. Because during the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, like people would go to him and like ask him questions, or things would happen. God would also like make things happen so that the Prophet can learn how to deal with it as a Muslim.
Got it.
Right? And like what the rulings are for it and the teachings. And so we have hadiths, and it's like written down. There's different books that people have like kept track of, and so if you search up a certain topic, there's like ways to address the situation, ways to do things, and so I think for me, like even with that, like knowing that like thousands and thousands of years ago or whatever, like this was something that they discussed in Islam, like, and it's something that's happening now. It just reaffirms my faith, right? And like I'm like, okay, I understand this, and like this makes sense, and I know how to approach like different situations. But then there are some things that I'm just like, I don't even know like who to ask or like how to navigate it, and then I just like turn to prayer and guidance in that way, and then make a decision and just pray that it's the best decision.
Wow.
But yeah.
Wow. So your experience with the hijab, like post 9/11, is like when things got kind of fearful. You kind of feared for your safety, fear for your life at times. I remember you were telling me about an experience you had in a parking lot. Like, was it Walmart?
Yeah. So I don't know why I'm smiling, but when we moved to Ohio, I went to a school there, and the area that we were living in at that time was like 98% white.
Okay.
And then every other ethnicity was the 2%. If you look at the statistics now, it doesn't look like that anymore. Okay. And I'm glad. Okay. But at the time, like, that's what it was. And so I went to school. I went to a middle school there, and my sister was at the high school, and they were like right next to each other. And so I went to school, and I was like walking home. I remember one day, and these guys in high school, obviously older than me, they drove in their car, and they were like you effing terrorist. And I'm in middle school, like this is, and I was like terrified because I was by myself. And then I went home, and I remember, I think my mom was home at the time, I can't remember, but I went home and I cried because I was like, why is this, like, I didn't understand it, I think. And I was just very confused with like why, you know, the people were saying things to me. So that was like my first experience. And then I like started to get more hip to it. And I remember one day we were at Walmart, and it was me, my sister, and my mom. And my sister was like dressed up because it was like her senior year, I think. I can't remember. But she was dressed up, and then this guy was like walking out with like a lady who I'm assuming is like his partner or something, and she kept on saying like, shut up, shut up, shut up to him. And then he said, good looking terrorists. And we walked past each other. He said it in passing. We heard him, but like all three of us didn't process it, I think, like until we went into the store, and we like stopped and looked at each other. I was like, did he say like good looking terrorists? They were like, that's what I heard too. And I was about to turn around and say something. Listen, I was so angry, and then I turned around, and they were like literally running to their cars. So like everyone who ever did anything to me, it was never like confrontational. It was more like they were saying it in passing because they were scared, because it's like at some level you know that you're wrong for doing that, right? And I was so young too, like so it was an experience, and there was a lot of like underhanded things that people would say, and like experiences that I've had where I just felt like I constantly had to like defend my religion and myself. And it's like I'm wearing this hijab, and I'm not just Edel when I'm outside. I'm like Edel the Muslim, right? And I think that's something that like a lot of people can just be like, oh, you know, I'm just Joe, like, and this is just me. It has no reflection on like my religion. No one knows, like, you know, or like my ethnicity, right? Like I think also as like a Somali, or like even just like an African American, right? Like you feel like any type of minority, you're a representation of them on some level. I don't know if it's just my experience, but
no, you're right. There's definitely, I think that's a I would agree that that's kind of a mutual feeling for a lot of the minorities. You represent kind of just everyone, and that's completely not the case.
And it's unfair also to yourself is what I'm realizing. Like, just because we're not all the same person, you know? And like, I think like growing up, that's something that I had to unlearn because I'm Edel, and I will make mistakes. Like I am going to say things I shouldn't say. I won't be a perfect little Muslim. And I think that that's something that as an adult I have come to terms with, where I can just be like, okay, whatever, like this is me, and I'm not a representation, and I'm not like a perfect person, and I don't have to be. Yeah,
no one's perfect.
Exactly.
No, absolutely no one is perfect.
Exactly.
Are you God?
Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
Wow. Are there any other, like, what do you think is the biggest misconception of Islam or Muslims in general? And I think that's kind of a difficult question.
There's a lot.
There's quite a few, but what would you say is the biggest misconception?
I think that, like, for women, that, like, we don't have a voice. Like, people think that we were oppressed. There was this, like, right? They just were just like, oh, Muslim women are oppressed, and you guys have to cover yourselves and do all these things. But for really, we're empowered, like, because you get to choose, like, if you want to wear your hijab and the way that you want to wear it, and there's so much protection in Islam for women that I think a lot of people just gloss over and they try not to, talk about.
Wow.
There's like rules in the Quran for like if you're getting a divorce, the way that you're supposed to ask, and you're supposed to take care of your wife, your ex, right? You're supposed to take care of her if she cannot take care of herself. If you guys have kids together, like you're supposed to provide for the kids as a man. There's just so many things that protects Muslim women, and I think that's a misconception that like the media has ran with, right?
Wow.
That like we're oppressed and we don't have a voice, which I'm not gonna lie, like maybe in some cultures, and I think that's the problem is people mix the religion with the culture.
All right, so let's talk about the synergy between or differences between culture and like religion.
Okay, so I think a lot of people mix the two when it comes to Islam.
Yes. Yes.
There's a lot of different cultures.
That, by the way.
A lot of people do, and even Muslims, right? They think that because this is the way that they were brought up and the way that their families did things for centuries, that like this is how Islam did it. And like I said, there are rules for everything in the religion. Like so, a lot of people mix in just the way that they grew up and their cultural beliefs, and try to say that is what Islam is.
Yeah.
So like not educating women,
Right.
And in Islam, actually, like the one thing that they say that after you pass away, your education goes with you. And so we regard that in like such high esteem, and like not only just like like we studied business, like not that, but like I guess like the religion education, right?
Wow.
How much of the Quran that you memorized, like that's something that you will take with you. And so a lot of people just like they mix that in, and they say that like oh, women are supposed to do XYZ and try to put us in like a box, when in the Prophet's time, like peace be upon him, he allowed women to do whatever they wanted to do, and his wives were like they did so much for the religion.
Wow.
And he held them at such a high regard that like I don't know where people just like twisted that, right?
Yeah, that's so interesting, because in Christianity there's a saying like the husband is the head and then the woman or the wife is the neck, so you can kind of control the control part. So it's kind of really similar.
I don't know if it's like part of the religion, like if that was in Islam, but I know in my family and like from the people that like the relationships that I have seen,
so for you guys that's a culture
it is a culture thing. I think the women, like Somali women, run everything. We do.
Wow.
And so I think that like and also like if your husband really loves you and like he respects you, then he does want to hear what you have to say, right? He does want to run things in a way that you would also be okay with. Not to say that like he doesn't have his own opinions, but like you are regarded in the decision making. And I think like when it comes to the household, like Somali women really do take care of everything. And I don't know if it's like I for my family, I should say, like I don't want to speak on everyone else, but like my family, growing up, like I've seen my parents just like have discussions.
Wow.
We were like Full House, how they had like they would like sit down and talk about everything afterwards. But that's how I grew up. So like communication to me, like I feel like that solves every problem. And I think with like I guess I could segue into relationships. Like an issue that I am having when I like speak to other men and I like start talking to someone is that they say communication is important, but they don't really practice it.
They don't practice it.
You have to be able to like say what you're thinking and like be able to relay how you're feeling to your significant other, but also be able to listen to like and receive like what they are saying and understand, right? Like if you're not properly communicating it to this person, then you won't get anywhere if they don't understand you.
Right, because communication is not just like talking, it's like listening. It's a like a what is it? Like a I guess a circle. Like it's the listening part, it's the talking part.
Right.
There's so many different parts to communication. So,
exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So we talked about the differences and the synergy of culture versus religion. How do you plan on like preserving cultural preservation? Because that's important.
It is.
Because things get lost.
They do.
And it's so important to kind of pass down your culture. And
so something that I was always worried about, and a reason why I wanted to like also get married while my parents were still here is because the Somali language, like I feel like that's getting lost. Maybe for me, let me just speak on me. Like I understand it when other people speak it to me, but if I'm not around it for a long time or I don't hear it that much, like we speak English in my house, and my parents speak English to us, and so
that's relatable. It's the same thing, Nigerian household. We don't speak Yoruba. My parents never spoke Yoruba, so we speak English.
It's difficult. I understand it, and like if I do meet like an auntie or uncle or whatever, like I can speak to them. I can hold a conversation.
Okay. Well, that's good.
But I just feel like that's gonna get lost in like the next couple of generations if we don't, and especially since we're like the diaspora, right? There's Somalis literally everywhere. There's this joke that my mom said where she's like, you can go to like a village and look under a rock and you'll find a Somali person.
I think it's the same thing for Nigerians.
We went everywhere, right? And so the people, there's like Somali Australians, there's like, they're all over Europe, they're in Toronto, they're here. And so we all grow up with like learning different languages also. And so I don't know, it's gonna look very different, I think, for like the next generations to come. If we don't learn the language. And that's something that I wish that that my parents did more. I have cousins who their parents spoke to them in Somali and they could speak it well. And they like understand it really well and they're able to like hold conversations. But I wish my parents like focused more on that a little bit, like when we were growing up, so we could like know both languages really well, because my whole life I was in like English schools and they wanted us to learn that. They did. Absolutely. And I'm so thankful because a lot of people, like I said, when they see me, they don't expect me to know how to speak English sometimes. And that's something that I have I try not to like, go off on people for, but like they'll see me and immediately think that I don't speak English, and then when I do speak, they're like, "Oh, you speak English so well," and I'm like, "That's a backhanded compliment."
That's offensive.
Yeah,
that's rude.
It's very rude. It's extremely rude, and I've heard people say that to me like recently, and I'm just like, "What do you expect?" And sometimes like I will be feisty, and I'll be like, "Well, I grew up here. Like, what did you think?" Like, and they're like, "Oh no, like I'm like, no." But it's just like that constant like. Even in those situations, like I feel like, okay, like I'm Muslim, like let me not be evil, right? Let me not like react in this way to the way that I like want to react. Let me like control my emotions and like address it in a better way. But
oh my gosh, you have stories for a day. Your journey's been really interesting. I think so. I think there's some other stories, but. All in all, I think you've had a really, really interesting journey. I love your story. I love how far you've come. I'm super proud of you. What are some words of advice or affirmation you would give your 21-year-old self based on what you know today, or based on your experiences?
I would say like you have everything you need inside of you.
Wow.
You really do. And I think like that's something that when I was younger, I always doubted. Like I'm like, oh, like I want to do this, but I'm scared. I would say that a lot, and I would talk to my dad a lot. He gives the best pep talks, but I would go to him and be like, I'm really scared. I'm starting this new job. Like I feel like they hired me and I don't know what I'm doing.
Wow.
And he's like, you do know what you're doing. You're a very smart person.
Yes, you are.
And you're going to figure it out. Like it's not, you don't start from like the top when you go somewhere new, right?
Right.
And I think like that's something that I struggled with. And so, yeah, you have everything you need inside of you already.
Wow. But what you just mentioned also is fear and doubt.
Yeah.
Fear is, I talk about that in almost every episode.
Yeah.
It's a killer.
It
will really, really knock you down and not let you elevate to places where you're supposed to be. But once you can combat that, once you can like wrap your mind around knowing that inner power.
Right.
Hey.
Exactly.
Really
just like this podcast. Like, you did it.
I did it.
You did it. You overcame that like fear that you had.
I overcame that fear.
So inspiring, honestly.
Oh, thanks, Edel. we are just inspiring each other.
We really are. I love it.
Yeah. So the next segment is my favorite segment. It's called On Repeat.
Okay.
What are we listening to?
I think
today.
Okay.
Or this week, or at any given time. What's Edel like? Ooh, put this on, and you like pushing it.
Listen, everyone always makes fun of my playlist because it has stuff like I'm literally all over the place.
Okay.
I can listen to anything from like country to pop to rap to R&B, but I think lately like it's been a lot of.
That's the artist in you, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah,
okay.
You're creative. You're an artist.
I just like it. Just depends on the song. Yeah, it depends on what it is. I feel like I can't box myself when it comes to music. But what I was listening to and like replaying this week was Cleo Soul.
Okay.
When I'm in Your Arms, that specific song, and then Liana La Havas and NAO.
Okay.
Their song Woman.
Okay, I'm not familiar with.
Okay, we're gonna have to listen to that. Yeah, but those two songs I think have been heavy on repeat, and then Beyonce, of course.
Okay, you love a Beyonce.
I love her so much.
Is on repeat?
The most recent one that Renaissance.
Yeah. People love that album.
It's so good.
Wow,
it's so good. I'm in the Beehive.
Wow.
We're going to her concert.
You're going to her concert?
I'm going to her concert.
You got tickets?
Me and my sister got tickets.
DC?
Yes. In July or August, I think.
How much did you pay?
Girl, don't worry about it.
Those tickets are outrageous.
We had a Beyonce fund.
Wow.
When her album came out, me and my sister were like, we have to go to this concert.
Wow.
Like, at any means possible, we are going. And she was like, okay. So I remember we both signed up for it, and I didn't get the tickets, and she did, because we both like did it on like different days or whatever. Okay. So she ended up getting them, and like even my parents were like, "Oh, like how much did you pay?" And we just kind of like glossed over.
Well, thank God for going to the concert. The actual tickets.
Don't ask us.
They sold out in like quickly, seconds.
Yeah.
Well, all right, Beehive.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm not really proud of Beehive. What's on repeat for me this week is Biggie Smalls, Notorious B.I.G.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, you know I'm a hip-hop girl. Yeah. I love hip-hop. I'm a music head, but I really love hip-hop, like rap.
Yeah.
So Biggie Smalls, Notorious B.I.G., going back to Cali. I'm not ready to die. Life After Death.
Yeah.
I think that was Life After Death. Going back. Yeah, I think that's Life After Death. That's been really, really heavy on repeat. The production on that thing is exquisite. Like it's really, really good.
I need to go back and listen.
Yeah, that song right there, like as soon as the beat drops, it's crazy. It's crazy. So that's what's on repeat for me. That brings us to the end of the pod.
Aww.
We're here.
This was fun.
Thanks for coming on. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself.
I did.
I feel like we had such thought-provoking, like this was a thought-provoking conversation.
I'm glad. I was really nervous.
You did really well.
You're a really good host, by the way.
Thanks.
You moved it along. I felt really comfortable. And I'm just like, again, so proud of you. So proud of you.
Thank you. And thank you all for tuning into this episode. Stay tuned for next week's episode. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend.
Yes, ma'am.
Word. We trying to get Ahmet on like big.
And she's on Spotify. Watch it on YouTube. Listen on Apple Music.
iHeartRadio.
Yes.
All of that jazz.
Play it everywhere once.
Yeah, everywhere once. And also, please don't forget to send in your dilemma or your questions to theunmetexpectation@gmail.com. Again, that's theunmetexpectation@gmail.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. You all take care. Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Oh my God. You sent it.
Editor, you're gonna have to edit this out. Oh my gosh. The whole thing just came off.
Do you need help?
No, I got it. It's just